My boyfriend said he accidentally deleted my portfolio right before the biggest interview of my career. I lost the job. I blamed myself until I found his resume hidden in a drawer built entirely from my work. I didn't argue, I didn't confront him. I just sent one email and watched everything he stole start to unravel. 3 hours before the biggest interview of my career, Leo stood in the kitchen, holding my laptop like it was on fire. Ava, babe, relax. I just clicked something and he glanced at the screen, palms up like he expected forgiveness to arrive on cue. The whole folder's gone. I didn't speak. Not because I was calm, because if I opened my mouth, I might scream so loud the building would shake. It's not a big deal, he added quickly. I mean, you emailed some of it to that recruiter last week, right? Or was that a different version? My mouth was dry, my throat felt like sandpaper. That folder, I said, voice low, steady, had every major campaign I've done in the last 3 years, you knew that. He scratched the back of his neck. You left your laptop open. I thought I could help. I was organizing files, trying to clear up space before your call. I blinked at him, slowly, deliberately. He tried a smile. I was trying to be helpful. On the couch, Micah looked up from his phone. My cousin had stayed the night, crashing after his campus tour. He took one AirPod out and asked casually, "Wait, so you were clearing her laptop?" This morning. Leo didn't look at him. It was running slow. Micah frowned. That's weird. You always close her laptop the second she leaves the room, even when she just gets up for water. Leo turned. Excuse me. I'm just saying, Micah shrugged. You're weirdly territorial about her stuff. Silence. Leo stepped closer, trying to brush it off with a laugh. Look, Ava, you're spiraling. You always get like this when you're nervous. I turned my laptop toward me. The screen was blank. The portfolio folder wasn't in the drive, not in downloads, not in trash. Gone, gone. And just like that, so was the interview. You always get like this when you're nervous. Leo leaned against the counter like he hadn't just gutted me. Like the problem was my anxiety, and not the fact that every piece of professional work I'd spent years creating had vanished under his watch. I didn't respond. I was staring at the screen, running through every possible location. Maybe it had backed up to Dropbox. Maybe the drive glitched. Maybe I was missing something, but I wasn't. The folder, my entire portfolio, was gone. He crossed his arms. This is why I don't try to help. You overreact, you spiral. Micah stood now, uneasily hovering near the island. You want me to check the external? He offered. Sometimes Time Machine autosyncs. Leo scoffed. Or maybe everyone can calm down. Right on cue, my phone rang. I glanced at the screen. Mom, I answered with forced brightness. Hi, Mom. She was practically singing. Ava, today's the day, right? You've got this, baby. I'm lighting candles and praying and wait, did you eat something? You get weird on an empty stomach. I opened my mouth, but nothing came out. Mom, I started. She cut me off. Your dad's been bragging to everyone. You know, he told that neighbor who always wears the sandals. My daughter's about to be a creative director. She laughed. No pressure. I'm fine, I said quickly. I'm ready. I wasn't. After we hung up, I sat frozen at the table. Then my sister Brianna's name popped up on a group chat. Brianna, so proud of you today, little sis. Don't forget, breathe, smile, and brag a little. You earned this. I didn't answer. Instead, I sent her a private message. Me, hypothetically, if your whole portfolio vanished right before an interview, what would you do? She replied instantly. Brianna, you didn't back it up. No punctuation, no emoji. Just disbelief. I stared at the message. Leo reached for my shoulder. You're going to be fine. You don't need a bunch of pictures and files to prove how good you are. Just talk to them, be confident. Micah coughed. That's not how jobs work. Leo glared at him. I didn't say a word. My head was screaming. But on the outside, I was still. Still enough to hear my own pulse in my ears. I had 35 minutes left. And no proof of the work that had built my name. The Zoom call lasted 7 minutes. That included the pleasantries. Hi, Ava, said one of the execs, Mark, according to his display name. He wore a navy blazer over a graphic tee, and behind him was a wall covered in art prints, all perfectly aligned. Beside him sat a woman in a rust-colored blouse. I'm Nadine, head of digital strategy. They both smiled, kind, polite, no idea that I was unraveling behind the camera. We were impressed with your resume, Nadine said. Your initial pitch caught our eye. We're excited to dig into your portfolio. That was my cue, and I didn't have it. I need to apologize, I said, forcing my voice to stay calm. There was a technical issue this morning. I lost access to some files. Mark frowned, all of them. I'm working on recovery. But yes, for now, they're not available. The silence on their end wasn't cruel, just clinical. Well, Nadine said, exchanging a glance with Mark. Without the sample set, we'll have to hold its standard. We need to see your process, not just the final results. I understand, I said, even though I barely did. They thanked me for my time, said I could reapply when I had a complete portfolio again, said they wished me the best. Then the screen went black. I didn't cry. I closed the laptop, folded my hands on top of it, let the silence spread across the room like a spill I wasn't ready to clean. An hour later, my aunt stopped by. She'd texted earlier, said she wanted to drop off a good luck charm. A little bracelet she said brought her luck when she used to paint for gallery showings. She walked in, took one look at me on the couch, and said, "Oh no. I lost the job," I said quietly. She sat beside me, placed the bracelet on the table, and said, "They'll come around." I nodded, but I didn't believe it. Because deep down, I already knew this wasn't a tech issue. It wasn't an accident. And the worst part, I'd let someone close enough to take everything. Leo made pancakes the next morning. Like syrup and blueberries could fill the crater he'd left. He moved around the kitchen in sweats and a backwards cap, flipping batter with theatrical cheer. "I figured we could do a reset," he said. "You love when I make breakfast, right?" Micah sat at the far end of the table, arms crossed, eyes darting between us. He hadn't said much since the Zoom call, but he hadn't left either. "Leo," I said quietly, "you don't have to." "I want to," he interrupted, stacking pancakes onto a plate like he was auditioning for forgiveness. "I feel awful. You've worked so hard. I should have double-checked before deleting anything." I panicked. He looked at me, wide-eyed, syrup bottle in hand. "Let's rebuild it together, okay?" I didn't respond. The front door opened. Drea walked in without knocking. She didn't smile, didn't take off her sunglasses. Just walked straight to the table, set her bag down, and looked directly at Leo. "Pancakes," she said flatly. "Cute." He raised an eyebrow. "Can I help you?" She ignored him, turned to me. "You okay?" I nodded. "Liar," she said. Then sat. Leo set the plate in front of me anyway. "You must be Drea. Ava's told me about you." "Yup," Drea replied, cutting the pancake without tasting it. "And I've heard about you for years." She stabbed a piece, held it midair. "Let me get this straight. You were organizing her files. Right before the most important interview of her life. And you hit delete by accident." Leo shifted. "Look, I know how it sounds." "No," she said, "you don't." "That's the problem." Micah let out a low whistle. Leo forced a smile. "Ava knows I'd never hurt her." Drea leaned in. "I think Ava knows exactly what you're capable of. That's the problem now." He laughed, brittle and too quick. "Wow. You're really good at spinning stories, huh?" "No," Drea said calmly. "I'm just good at noticing patterns." I didn't eat the pancakes. None of us did. That night, the group chat exploded. Drea, he said he'd help her rebuild it. Nah. Girl, he should be lucky you're not rebuilding him. Micah, this man accidentally deleted her future and thought pancakes would fix it. Renee, I'm sorry, wasn't this the same guy who said her portfolio was too bold for corporate jobs? Drea, yes, I remember that, said it was too conceptual. Micah, jealous sabotage. He's not subtle. Renee, insecure much, and dumb, didn't even cover his tracks. Drea, Ava, girl, leave, I read every message twice. Micah was in the next room, but he still texted. "Micah, you okay? Want me to say something to him?" I replied, "Me? No, not yet." Because something in me still wanted to believe there was a line Leo wouldn't cross. That maybe it really was a panic-click mistake. That maybe, despite everything, he hadn't meant to ruin what I'd built. But that hope was getting thinner by the hour. Drea called me 20 minutes later. "I don't trust him," she said. "I haven't for a while. You know how many men I've seen like this? The ones who cheer for you out loud but sabotage you in private? I've dated 3. "I know," I whispered. "I just didn't want to think I was dating a 4th. She went quiet for a moment. Then, "You don't need to confront him yet, but don't ignore the signs just because you want him to be better than he is." I nodded, even though she couldn't see me. Because deep down, I'd already started counting the signs, and they were everywhere. The drawer was supposed to be off limits. Leo said it during month 2 when I asked if I could stash some extra chargers in his desk. That one's just messy, he said with a shrug. You'll hate me if you see it. I didn't ask again, but Micah wasn't in on the rule. He was looking for batteries, just batteries, for his wireless mouse before his online class. I was in the shower. Leo had left for a gym session or a long walk or something vague that required him to not be here. When I stepped out, towel wrapped around my hair, Micah was standing in the hallway holding a folder like it had burned him. He said, you need to see this. I took the folder. Inside were printed resumes, 4 of them, identical formatting, same font I'd customized in Figma 6 months ago. Each with Leo's name at the top. Each paired with project boards. Mood boards, client briefs, wireframes, mine, my shelter rebrand, my social media mock-ups for the wellness startup, my typography overlays, the digital illustrations I did for a pro bono community arts project, even the eco-packaging redesign for the juice brand, the one that got reposted last year by a major agency. All of it, labeled, clean, as if he'd made them, each section stamped with L. Anderson Creative Direction. I stared at the sheets like they might rearrange themselves into something innocent. They didn't. Micah's voice was quieter now. Is this all your stuff? I didn't answer. I couldn't. I flipped through another page. My animal shelter pitch, the one that got me shortlisted last year. Word for word, image for image. Even the same header I'd named Second Chances Start with Design. My hands went cold. Micah pulled out his phone. I'm calling Drea. I didn't stop him, because suddenly it was all clear. The deletion, the accident, the pancakes. Leo hadn't just cost me the interview. He had used it to clear the runway for himself. I spread the pages out on the kitchen table. It was like watching my own life dissected, rearranged, and stamped with someone else's name. My captions, my spacing, my color gradients, everything I'd agonized over for months now laid out like trophies, only they weren't in my case. That's the shelter rebrand, I said quietly. I spent 6 weeks on that. 6. I skipped sleep, missed dinners. I hand-drew every logo variation. Micah hovered beside me, phone still in his hand. He changed nothing, like not even the typeface, that's your caption. Adoption starts with identity. He left it. I didn't respond, because I remembered writing that line. At 2:17 a.m. on the couch, with Leo beside me, watching a basketball recap and nodding as I read it aloud. He'd smiled and said, damn, that's good. And then he'd stolen it. Micah held his phone to his ear. Drea's on her way. She told me to stall if he comes back. My aunt arrived first. She stepped inside, glanced at the table, and froze mid-step. That layout, she said, pointing. You showed me that at Thanksgiving, the one you were nervous to pitch. I nodded. He submitted it as his. She didn't ask how or why. She walked over and sat down, slowly flipping through the packet like it was evidence, which it was. Micah handed her the resume. She read the opening line out loud. Creative professional with a passion for clean, human-centered design. She looked up at me. That's you. I nodded again. She didn't raise her voice. Didn't cry. Just said one sentence that landed like a nail in the floorboards. Tell me you saved the originals. I opened my drive, every pixel, every draft still mine. Still proof, Brianna called before I could. Micah had texted her a photo, one of the resume pages next to my original mock-up on the kitchen table. 2 designs, 1 caption, 1 thief. She FaceTimed me mid-scroll, camera angled too close, eyes already blazing. Wait, are you saying he stole your portfolio and passed it off as his own? I didn't speak right away. She leaned in sharper now. Ava, talk to me. I turned the phone so she could see the mess. The pages, the proofs, the same layout I'd shown her 6 months ago when I was debating which version to send to the nonprofit pitch. Brianna narrowed her eyes. He printed it. He printed your work. Micah hovered beside me. She found her shelter rebrand, the juice packaging, the mental health app. Wait, Brianna cut in. The wellness one that you got featured on Behance for. I nodded. Brianna sat back in her car, mouth tight. Okay, no, I'm coming over. Before she hung up, she added, I'm bringing Dad. Then my aunt chimed in from across the table. I want a copy of everything, PDF. He doesn't get to run from this. More texts came in. Renee, I'm checking his LinkedIn, be right back. Drea, don't touch anything, I want to see the whole stack. My phone buzzed again, this time from Mom. Heard something happened. Want me to come by? I didn't answer. Because the story was spreading fast. Each new voice added another layer of disbelief, then fury, then defense. And all of them pointed to one truth: this wasn't an accident. This wasn't just betrayal, it was theft. And I wasn't the only one ready to burn it down. Didn't he just brag about a job offer? Drea asked the question the second she walked in, her eyes already scanning the pages. I nodded once, 2 days ago. Micah chimed in. He said some firm loved his clean branding style, claimed they fast-tracked him after the first round. Drea picked up a page from the stack, snorted. Yeah, clean because Ava did all the scrubbing. Renee's message popped up again. Renee found him, Leo Anderson, listed as brand experience lead at Sable House, started this week. She followed it up with a screenshot. Leo's smug headshot next to a company bio that read like a parody. Leo brings a refined, user-first aesthetic rooted in emotionally intelligent design. Drea laughed without humor. Emotionally intelligent. He couldn't emotionally assemble a sandwich. Another ping. Renee, hold on, you're not gonna believe this. A minute later, another screenshot. Sable House's website, portfolio page, a carousel of work samples, and there it was. My animal shelter rebrand, not reinterpreted, not repackaged, the exact same layout. My iconography, my color scheme. The caption I wrote under deadline pressure while eating cereal at midnight. Second chances should feel like home. Drea whispered, oh my God. Micah muttered, he really went full psycho. My hands shook as I tapped through the rest of the site. The wellness app, the eco-packaging. My UX notes quoted like he'd said them himself. I felt nauseous. Renee messaged again. Renee, he submitted this to our recruiter. That's how he got the interview. My manager remembered the dog logo. She thought it was familiar. I stared at the screen. The job I'd lost was now sitting under his name. My work, my words, my future, and all I'd done was trust him. Tell me you're not gonna let this slide. Drea stood in the middle of the kitchen, hands on her hips. The stolen pages fanned out behind her like a courtroom exhibit. Micah was already pulling timestamps from Google Drive. Brianna had her laptop open, fingers flying across the keyboard like she was building a case. Renee called in from her apartment, her voice piped through the speaker. He copied everything, Ava, everything. But he's dumb, he didn't even strip the metadata from your files. Good, my aunt said, walking in with a flash drive. Then we have the proof, all of it. The kitchen felt like a war room. Everyone had a role. Micah brought up a shared folder we'd worked on last fall. This one has the original PSD files, created by you, last modified months before Leo touched them. His resume claims he did the shelter branding in January, Drea said, squinting at her screen. But you posted the sketch versions on your Instagram in November. Brianna pulled up my posts. Here, this one date-stamped, full caption breakdown, hashtags, timestamp from hell. Let's get visual, Renee said. Side-by-side comparisons. Same font, same composition, same captions, all labeled. My aunt looked at me. You're not gonna scream, are you? No, I said calmly, I'm gonna write. Because if there was one thing Leo never understood, it wasn't just that I was good at what I did. It was that I documented everything. Every sketch, every process shot, every draft, no matter how small, not for praise, not for followers, but because I believed in the story behind the work. And now that story was my weapon. Drea pulled out a bottle of wine and set it on the counter. Someone get her laptop, she said. It's time. We gathered around the dining table like it was a council meeting. Brianna had her iPad up with comparison shots ready. Leo's LinkedIn portfolio next to my original mock-ups. Micah had a folder titled Receipts, Do Not Delete open on his laptop. Drea had turned off every light except the one above the table. Atmosphere, she said. Petty looks better in low light. I opened my MacBook. My fingers hovered over the keyboard for a second. Then I began pulling everything together. The project files, screenshots from my archived social posts, time-stamped email drafts I'd sent to myself with subject lines like shelter mockup, V2 final final final. I even found an early Slack conversation with Renee about the typography I used, dated 6 months before Leo claimed it was his. My sister texted me another photo. Brianna, remember this? You posted your mood board in your stories, I saved it. March 18th. Before Leo even knew what a mood board was, I saved it to the folder. Every proof stacked higher. Every detail made him smaller. Drea cracked her knuckles. Let's draft the email. Renee suggested the subject line. Subject, urgent. Stolen portfolio materials submitted by Leo Anderson. I started typing. Dear Hiring Committee, I'm reaching out regarding a recent hire, Leo Anderson. It's come to my attention that he submitted design work under his name that was originally created by me. Attached you'll find my original project files and drafts, with creation dates, screenshots of Leo's public-facing work, social posts and timestamped uploads from my end, a side-by-side breakdown of each instance of duplication. I'm deeply disappointed to have lost an opportunity because of this. However, my goal isn't revenge, it's clarity. I believe in earning what we claim. Thank you for your time. Ava Morales. Silence, Drea reached over and clicked send. Time of death, she said, raising her glass. Now. Micah passed me the wine. Brianna turned up the volume on the speaker. I didn't speak, I just watched the screen and waited. The first voicemail hit 20 minutes later. 3 missed calls, 1 voicemail, then 4 more. The message was shaky, unedited, desperate in a way that didn't match the man who used to correct my grammar mid-argument. Hey, Ava, babe, can we talk? Please, just can you call me back? It's not what you think. I didn't mean for it to, just call me. I didn't press play again. Another call, another voicemail, this one less calm. You went behind my back, sent that to my job. Do you even understand what you've done? Drea picked up my phone before I could reach for it, deleted the message with 1 flick. You gave him silence, she said. He chose noise. My mom called a few minutes later. She didn't sound surprised. I just spoke to your aunt, she said. Is it true? Yes. She sighed. He used you, Ava. I know. No, listen to me. He used your kindness, your talent, your home. And then he turned around and erased your name like it was a typo. I blinked hard. I let him in. You let him see you. That's not the same. More missed calls. Leo's number lit up again. This time I let it ring all the way through, speaker on. His voice came through, tense and fragile. You humiliated me. You didn't have to destroy everything. My mom spoke from the other line before I could. He destroyed it, she said. You just showed them what was already there. I hung up, and for the first time since the interview, I breathed all the way in. He showed up the next morning, knocked twice, not loud, not aggressive, just there. I didn't move. Drea stood in the hallway, arms crossed, phone already in her hand. He's got 10 seconds before I call someone. But it wasn't her who answered the door. It was my dad. He hadn't said much through the chaos. He wasn't in the group chat. He didn't scroll LinkedIn or analyze timestamps, but he'd been watching, listening. When he opened the door, Leo flinched. I need to talk to Ava, Leo said. Please. My dad didn't budge. She doesn't need anything from you. Leo tried to look past him. I just want to explain, she didn't have to do this. I lost everything. No, my dad said, voice like gravel. You took everything. She just made sure you didn't keep it. Leo's jaw tightened. I loved her. My dad leaned closer. You loved her work, you loved her name when it was convenient, but you never loved her. From the hallway, I could see everything, Leo's sagging shoulders, his fake bravado cracking, his eyes darting around like there was still some angle he hadn't played. He finally saw me. He opened his mouth. I said nothing. I didn't step forward. I didn't soften. I just watched. And that silence, that was the last thing I ever gave him. He came back that evening, not to the door this time, but to the edge of the driveway, pacing with his phone in hand like he was waiting for a verdict. I stepped outside, not alone. My dad stood nearby. Drea leaned against the porch railing. Micah sat on the steps, arms crossed. My aunt hovered in the doorway, her eyes narrow and ready. It looked like a courtroom. Leo looked like a man who knew the sentence had already been written. He started, his voice hoarse. I didn't know how to tell you. I was scared you'd leave if you knew how behind I was. Everyone thinks you're brilliant. They don't look twice at me. You didn't have to be me, I said calmly. You just had to be honest. I was trying, he said, stepping closer. You don't know how hard it's been. No, I interrupted. You don't get to talk about hard. You sat beside me while I built that portfolio. You watched me doubt myself, cry, question if I was good enough. And the whole time you were copying me behind my back. His face crumpled, but I didn't stop. For 2 years I talked to you about my career, my ideas, my fears. And you nodded and hugged me and asked me what font I was using so you could steal it. He shook his head. It wasn't like that. You didn't take inspiration, Leo, I said. You took credit. Silence. Then my aunt muttered, You had a damn nerve walking in here. Leo looked around, realized no one was backing him up. He turned to me one last time. You ruined me. No, I said, voice even. You did that all by yourself. He left without another word. No storm, no tantrum, just a man who finally ran out of lies. 2 days later, the email came. Subject: Offer letter, creative director position at Sable House. I stared at it for a long time before opening it. My heart wasn't racing. My hands didn't shake. I was calm, like something inside me already knew. Hi, Ava. We'd like to formally offer you the role of creative director. Your work speaks for itself, and after reviewing everything that's come to light, the team unanimously agreed we reached out to the wrong person the first time. I read the email 3 times before I let myself exhale. Then the phone rang. Hi, Ava, it's Marissa. Her voice was warm, firm, confident. I wanted to call personally, she said. Everyone here saw what you built, and what he tried to take. We're embarrassed it got this far, but I hope you'll let us make it right. I didn't speak right away. I'm still trying to process, I admitted. She laughed softly. That's fair. We won't just honor your work, she continued. We'll protect it. We'll make sure your name is attached to everything it should have been from the start. For the first time in days, I smiled. I accept. We ended the call. I set the phone down, then sat very still. Across from me, Micah looked up from his game. Did they fix it? I nodded. They fixed it. He grinned. Good, because I've been holding back from tweeting and it's killing me. Drea burst into the room, waving takeout menus. Did you say yes? Yeah. She high-fived me like I'd just won an award, which, in a way, I had. Not because they gave me the job, but because they gave me my name back. Micah held the offer letter like it was a trophy. You should frame this, he said, grinning. Or better, put it in your new portfolio, right under a section titled Don't Date Insecure Men. Brianna laughed from the kitchen. That's not petty, that's branding. Drea raised a glass. To Ava Morales, the only woman I know who got justice, a job, and an exposé in the same week. I rolled my eyes but smiled anyway. My face actually hurt from how long I'd been smiling. The apartment was loud, music playing, takeout boxes open, everyone talking over each other. The kind of noise that felt like healing. Like home. Brianna poured wine and nudged my arm. What are you thinking? I looked around. Micah was still rereading the email like it was his. My aunt was asking Drea about fonts, of all things. My dad was on the couch, pretending not to listen but nodding every time someone praised my work. And me. I was thinking about how it finally felt good to take up space. I'm thinking I want everything from here on out to have my name on it, I said. Brianna smiled. It always should have. Drea raised her glass again. You're not just talented anymore, she said. You're untouchable now. Renee chimed in via FaceTime, smirking through the screen. Your inbox is about to explode. That LinkedIn update was fire. And it was a simple post, no details. Just excited to be stepping into my next chapter under my name on my terms. #creative director. Built not borrowed. Ava Morales design. By the time I checked again, it already had over 2,000 reactions. For the first time in months, I felt seen, but more than that, I felt claimed. Not by someone else, by me. Leo didn't come back, not that night, not the next. He left with no final speech, no apology that meant anything. Just a voicemail I never played and a LinkedIn update that disappeared 24 hours later. The day after, I got the email. Subject: Formal offer, creative director position at Sable House. I opened it sitting on the edge of my bed, barefoot, coffee still in my hand. It was real, not a sympathy hire. Not a correction, just recognition. The recruiter wrote, We've reviewed everything, and more than anything, we're impressed by your clarity, your integrity, and your voice as a creator. We want to work with someone like that. I forwarded it to the group chat. Micah replied first. He got exposed and you got upgraded. Divine balance. Drea sent a string of fire emojis. Brianna called. I knew they'd come back. And they did, on my terms. The offer letter sat on the counter like a trophy. Micah leaned over it, grinning so hard it looked painful. You should put this in your portfolio, he said. Right between your shelter rebrand and your juice packaging redesign. He glanced at me. Actually, maybe under a new section, reasons not to date insecure men. I rolled my eyes, but I didn't stop smiling. Drea tossed me a takeout menu from the couch. Victory dinner, I vote noodles. Brianna had already opened the wine. She poured glasses like we were toasting to a new era, which, in a way, we were. There was no loud music. No confetti. Just laughter that didn't sound strained, and peace that didn't feel like a performance. I kicked off my shoes and curled up on the floor with my plate, my friends, my family, the people who never needed proof to believe I was good. You look lighter, Brianna said. I feel it, I replied. Because for the first time in too long, I wasn't carrying the weight of someone else's ego on my back. I wasn't working twice as hard for half the credit. I wasn't sharing my process with someone who only ever saw it as a shortcut. Micah passed me a glass. You know this wasn't just about getting the job, right? I looked up. It's about getting your name back, he said. And he was right. Renee called the next morning just after 9. I was still in my pajamas, hair tied up, coffee in hand, the offer letter sitting on the windowsill where I left it the night before. You're not just talented, she said as soon as I picked up. You're untouchable now. I didn't say anything right away. Seriously, she continued. What he did was messed up, but what you did, you turned it into proof. You didn't just protect your work, you elevated it. I closed my eyes for a second, letting that land. Renee wasn't one for flattery. She was the kind of person who gave praise with restraint, but when she gave it, it stuck. Everyone saw it, she added. Our recruiter forwarded your email to every department head. The VP asked to meet you next week. People are using your side-by-side deck as an internal training reference. I blinked. You're kidding. I'm not. She paused. Don't be surprised if other companies start reaching out. Your name's on the radar now, not just because of the drama, but because you handled it like a pro. After we hung up, I opened my LinkedIn. Notifications everywhere. Recruiters, comments, connection requests. Drea walked in, still in slippers, holding 2 mugs. You checking the numbers. I nodded. They're wild. She handed me a mug. Good. About time. Brianna, sitting by the window, looked up from her phone. No one's gonna overlook your name again. I sipped my coffee, still trying to absorb the quiet truth of that. And then, softly, my mother, who'd come by to drop off groceries and ended up sitting with us, finally spoke. I should have told you sooner, she said. You didn't need anyone's help to be seen. I looked at her, and for once I didn't deflect, I just nodded because I finally believed her. Monday came with no dread. I woke early, dressed slow. No armor, no disguise. Just me, crisp blouse, soft hair pulled back, no thoughts of who might be watching. This time, I wanted them to watch. The Sable House office was quiet when I arrived. Sleek. Sunlight poured in through tall windows, catching on the glass walls and chrome accents like the whole building had been scrubbed clean for a new chapter. My chapter? A few heads turned as I walked past the bullpen. One person stood, smiled, and said, "Welcome, Ava." Another offered a quiet nod, then turned back to his screen like he'd already been briefed on who I was. No whispers. No second guessing, just space, ready for me to take up. I reached the creative director's office, mine now, and opened the door. There was no nameplate yet, no framed art. Just a blank desk, an empty screen, and the exact kind of quiet that used to terrify me. But now, it felt like opportunity. I powered up the laptop, opened a new window, and dragged a single file into a fresh folder. MY name, MY work, my future, that was the title. No subtext, no shared credits. No stolen layers, just mine. I clicked it open and saw the first campaign ready to present. Then I stood, picked up my notebook, and walked into the team's morning meeting. Not as someone's girlfriend, not as the almost hire, not as the woman who rebuilt after sabotage. but as the woman whose name now carried weight, and who'd made damn sure it would stay there. Thank you for watching. Please do not forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. I love you all.